Hello, good evening, good morning, whenever you happen to see this video. Bert Hellinger, A Philosophy of Being, Rising in Love, published in 2008 by the publishing company Hellinger Sciencia. We're continuing with the limits of conscience, guilt, and innocence. We experience our conscience in our relationships because all of our actions that affect others are accompanied by a knowing sense of guilt or innocence. In the same way that our eyes continually distinguish between dark and light, this knowing sense distinguishes in any moment between actions that damage relationships and those that nourish them. We experience what is damaging to our relationships as guilt and what is nourishing as innocence. Through feelings of guilt, our conscience pulls in the reins and turns us around when we endanger a relationship. Through feelings of innocence, it lets go of the reins and allows us to gallop ahead. This is similar to our sense of balance, which is constantly pushed and pulled by feelings of comfort and discomfort so that we can maintain our own sense of equilibrium. In the same way, our conscience pushes and pulls us through feelings of comfort and discomfort to keep a sense of balance in all our significant relationships. Relationships are successful according to conditions that in essence are given, just as our sense of up and down, forwards and backwards, right and left is given. We may sway to the right or left, the front or back, but inborn reflexes pull us constantly into balance in order to avoid disaster, and so we are straightened out in time. In the same way, a sense of balance that is superior to our follies watches over our relationships and works toward correction and equilibrium when we have strayed from the conditions necessary for the maintenance of those relationships and so put them at risk. Like our physical sense of balance, this sense of balance in relationships perceives us in our environment, knows the scope of freedom and its limitations, and keeps us on course through the various feelings of ease and dis-ease. The dis-ease we feel as guilt, the ease we feel as innocence. Thus, guilt and innocence both serve the same master. He harnesses them both to the same carriage, guides them in one direction so that they pull ahead in tandem. Through their joint and alternating forces, they keep the carriage on track. Sometimes we want to take the reins in our own hands, but the coachman will not relinquish them. We only ride in the carriage as his captives and his passengers. The coachman's name is conscience. Preconditions. These are the given conditions for human relationships: belonging, balance, order. We meet these three conditions, like the conditions for our balance, even against other wishes or plans, under the pressure of instinct, need, and reflexes. We recognize them as fundamental conditions because we experience them as fundamental needs. Connectedness, balance, and order are conditioned upon and complementary to each other. Together they are experienced as conscience. Therefore, we also experience conscience as instinct, need, and reflex. So really, we experience conscience as at one with our needs for belonging, for balance, and for order. The difference. Although these three needs for belonging, balance, and order always work together, they also work toward their own specific goals through their own specific kind of guilt and innocence. So we feel guilt and innocence in different ways, depending on which goals or needs are being served. When guilt and innocence serve belonging, we experience guilt as separation and distance, and innocence as comfort and closeness. When they serve the balance of giving and taking, we experience guilt as obligation and innocence as freedom from expectation. When guilt and innocence serve the right order, we experience guilt as transgression and fear of punishment, and innocence as loyalty and alliance. Conscience directs us towards every one of these goals, even when they stand in opposition to each other. Therefore, we experience these contradictions in their aims as contradictions in our conscience. In maintaining balance, conscience often demands of us what it would forbid us in the service of belonging, and in sustaining order, it allows us what it would deny us in the service of belonging. For example, when we hurt someone as badly as they have hurt us, we satisfy the need for balance and perceive ourselves as fair. However, in so doing, we may sacrifice our need for belonging. In order to satisfy belonging and balance equally, we must hurt the person a little less than they have hurt us. Then balance suffers, but belonging and love are triumph. Conversely, if we give just as much to another as was given to us, balance is satisfied, but belonging rarely so. If we wish balance to lead toward belonging as well, we must give a little more than has been given to us. And when this gift is reciprocated, then the giver must give a little more in return. In this way, the giving and taking achieves balance as well as a continuous exchange with belonging and love. We experience similar contradictions between the need for belonging and for order. If, for example, a mother tells her child that because he has been naughty, he must stay alone in his room, and if she does in fact leave the child there, then the need for order is served. But the child will become angry, and rightly so, because for order's sake, the mother has offended against love. If, on the other hand, after a little while she lets the child out of the rest of the punishment, she does indeed offend against order, but she strengthens the belonging and the love between herself and her child. No matter how much or no matter how we react to such circumstances, we will feel free as well as guilty. There's no way out, it seems. Different relationships. Just as our needs differ, so do our relationships. Interest in different relationships may conflict. In serving one relationship, we may harm another. What is counted as innocence in one relationship may be counted as guilt in another. For one deed, we may stand in front of many judges, and while one condemns us, another may declare us innocent. Order. Sometimes we experience conscience as singular. Often, however, it more closely resembles a group in which different members strive for different goals in different ways, with different feelings of guilt and innocence. In this way, the members support each other and keep each other in check for the good of the whole. Still, Even when they oppose each other, they serve a higher order. This order is like a field marshal who has different troops at different fronts, in different terrain, with different equipment, each employing different tactics. With all of these variables, he strives for different successes in the different situations. But for the sake of the whole, this strategy allows only for partial success at the various fronts. The same is true of innocence. It can succeed only in parts. Appearances. In most instances, guilt and innocence go hand in hand. If you try to grasp innocence, you will also stir up guilt. If you live as the landlord in the house of guilt, you will discover innocence as your tenant. Furthermore, guilt and innocence often exchange their clothes, so that guilt wears the mantle of innocence, and innocence comes in the cloak of guilt. Appearances deceive us, and only the results can tell the truth. To illustrate this, I will tell you a little story. The players. They greet each other as opponents. Then they sit opposite each other and play together on one board with a variety of pieces, following complex ancient rules, move by move, the same old royal game. To their game, both sacrifice a range of pieces, intensely hold each other in check until the movement is completed. When nothing further can be done, the game is over. Then they change sides and colors. And of the same old game, another match begins again. But those who play for a long time and win a lot and lose a lot, they gain mastery on both sides. The spell. If you want to solve the riddles of conscience, you have to enter a maze, and you need many clues so you can discern amidst the confusing array of paths between those leading to freedom and those leading to dead ends. And stumbling in the dark, you also must confront the myths and stories that surround guilt and innocence, for they cast a spell on our senses and paralyze our steps, should you dare to find out what is happening in secret. Children may have felt that way when adults talked of the stork that brings babies, and maybe the prisoners felt that too as they stood before the sign of, at the gate of the death camp that read, "Work will set you free." Occasionally, someone comes along who has the courage to break through this spell, like the child who stands among the mad crowd as the dictator marches by and shouts out that everybody what everybody knows, but no one dares to admit. But he is naked. Talking about the emperor's new clothes storybook. It is like the musician who waits by the road for the rat catcher to pass through with his group of children whom he has entranced with his flute. As they approach, the musician starts to play a different tune, and some fall out of step. We will continue in another video with belonging. Thank you very, very much. Have a pleasant night, day, evening, morning. Thank you. Thank you.